Established titles.
Shout out to Established Titles.
Shout out to Established Titles.
Established Titles is based on a historic Scottish custom where landowners are referred to as lords and ladies in England.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am finally the man I deserve to be. Lord Isaac Butterfield. Good evening. My name's Isaac Butterfield. I'm a YouTuber and comedian from Australia, and I recently was sponsored by Established Titles. You probably saw their ads absolutely everywhere. It turns out they've got a big budget for sponsoring absolutely everybody. If you didn't know, Established Titles has copped a lot in the last couple of weeks, being labelled a scam and people wanting blood. Honestly, I have not seen a company get attacked like this in some time. They have copped more on the internet than Balenciaga did after their questionable use of children with fetish teddy bears. Yeah, they copped more than that. So very, very interesting, I'd like to say. But in this video, I'm going to be 100% honest. All right, I'm going to be 100% honest and transparent. I'm not trying to protect my associations with Established Titles or anything like that. I'm going to try and answer all the questions that people had about the brand. And we're not going to stop there. The video that blew this out of the water by a guy called Scott Schaefer.
Sponsorship from the company Established Titles. Now, despite glowing reviews from some of YouTube's largest and most trusted creators, this company is a complete scam.
We're going to interview him at the end of this video and the CEO of Established Titles, Katarina Yip. So, for the unaware, the uninitiated, Established Titles is a company where you can purchase a small plot of land in Scotland and then you can call yourself a lord or a lady. You might have seen me or every other, I can't swear yet in the video or it'll get demonetized, bloody creator on the internet spruiking them. Now, this kind of operation has been around for a long time. There's other companies that do it. I think one's called Highland Titles, another's called fucking, I don't know, Scottish buy this piece of land now.com. I don't know. There's a lot that do it. But just 2 weeks ago, Scott Schaefer, a YouTuber out of America, put out a video claiming that they are a scam. And he called out a lot of the creators who were actually promoting Established Titles. And I was one of them. I signed a deal with Established Titles, and I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble for revealing this, for a 2-month period that was worth well over $100,000. So, thanks, Scott! So why did I sign a deal with a company like this? I love money. I am a money-hungry capitalist, but also I've got a baby coming into the world, I've got a mortgage to pay, and I don't know how long YouTube will last. It might last another 10 weeks, another 10 days, or another 10 years. So I have to get good while the going's getting good. And on top of that, everybody skips past the ad in the middle of the video, don't they? That's what I do. I mean, if you're an advertiser watching this, no, that doesn't happen on my channel. Give me some cash, please. And I'm not the only one that received a lot of money from Established Titles. You got to understand that this is something that was happening all over the globe. I know of another Australian creator who is in a very niche side of YouTube, very, very niche, and I won't reveal his name or what he does, but he was offered $300,000 US, so almost $500,000 Australian dollars, to put out an Established Titles video every single day, not week, every single day of December. Now that is alleged. I've heard that through the grapevine. I don't know if that's true. This is what I hear, and I take it. I think in my opinion, it's true. So let me ask you that question. If you think Established Titles is a scam and you believe that Scott Schaefer did a very good job, there's a lot of people that think like that, would you take $500,000 for a month to try and get people to buy square foots of land in Scotland? Which I think is a gag gift. That's my whole thing with this. I think it's a gag gift. Would you do that? Because I would do it tomorrow. I don't give a fuck. I would do it tomorrow. Now, let's get to the claims made by Scott. But let me just tell you before we do why I made this video. I wasn't going to make a video. I was just going to go, okay, that's what's happened. Let's move on, right? I'm on this channel. We're all about putting out content that's going to make people laugh. This isn't really that funny. But then I got this DM on my Instagram at the Buttsmart. If you're not following me, go and do it, you dirty dog. And I thought to myself, oh, I probably should respond. This is from DNZ Majonanur. All right? Fuck your Established Titles scam. It's all false. Full stop. You don't own any land and you're not granted a lord or ladyship. It's a fucking scam, bro. And you're peddling this falsehood to your loyal watchers. Question mark? Don't you do any research? No. Got things to do. I promote anything. Or you just take the 10K a month and fuck your audience. I don't fuck my audience. I do not fuck my audience. What a for starters, DNZ Mazunjia, suck a fat dick and fuck off. Dickhead. Let me just point this out there. You don't own the land, all right? You can't buy it. You can't go put a house on it. Obviously. It's a square foot. I mean, this is... Okay, I have receipts for all this type of shit, but I actually bought a lordship from a company called, and I screenshotted it, I went back through the annals of history, called... What the fuck was it? It was, it was Highland Titles. I bought 1 square foot of land for £30. I think it's like $50, because I wanted to be a lord. That was back in 2018. So people actually do use this service, and I never thought I was actually a lord. I never thought I actually owned the land. I couldn't go to Scotland and park my fucking white ass on that land and say, Sons of Scotland, I fucking own it now. It was a joke present for myself. What a fucking loser. This is what's done my head in about all this. All these people saying, oh, I thought I owned land. Do you know how much goes into buying land? I bought my house, which has land under it, believe it or not. Mate, the amount of lawyers and fucking people and that get involved in that shit, and real estate agents, who suck, by the way. If you're a real estate agent, fucking headbutt the wall. You can't just spend $50 on some random website that some dickhead on the internet tells you to go and check out, and then you own the fucking land and you can put your fucking stupid head on it. Doesn't work like that, mate. And in my honest opinion about this, if you bought a Scottish title from any of those companies and you thought you actually owned the land and you could put a house on it, you are the densest human of all time, all right? How do you remember to breathe? It's exactly the same as those companies that sell parts of the universe or stars or parts of the ocean. You don't own the star. It's a sun. You idiot. Like, if you go to the FAQs on their websites, this is from Star Registry Australia, due to the stars being classified as celestial beings, they have been designated as property of all mankind. And as such, no one can ever legally own a star. Scotty Shafes, who is a nice guy, I've talked to him on the emails, get in there and get him, bruh. But honestly, that is how I feel about the established titles and companies like them. It is a present. It's something you give, like in a secret Santa. You give it to your family member who you can't really give a shit about, and you fucking don't have time to think about an actual present for them. It's all pretend, right? But in saying all of that, you could argue that established titles and companies like them have been misleading in their advertising.
You aren't actually buying any land at all. What they are essentially selling you is a gag gift known as a souvenir plot. Under the Scotland Land Registration Act of 2012, it's not allowed for these small plots of land to be legally sold.
So, established titles bought a big piece of land in Scotland and sold off little pieces, which you can't actually do, but they got away with it by saying they're souvenir plots of land, and all this was detailed on their website. You just had to go into the fine print, which, let's be honest, no one ever does. And let's also be honest, the fine print by any company is fucking heinous. Like, it's out there not to look after you, it's to look after them. It's a real plot of land, it exists, but it's not yours. No matter how many plots of land you buy, it's not yours. Could I buy every plot of land they have and say that I now own that land? No, because they're souvenir plots of land.
Another big selling point they have is that if you buy a piece of land in Scotland, the custom is that you now become a lord or lady and can add that official title to your name. Sadly, this couldn't be any farther from the truth.
Alright, Scott is right and wrong here. You can call yourself whatever you want. Like, for example, if you go to Domino's or Pizza Hut or some pizza chain and you call yourself Dr. Isaac Butterfield, you could probably do that. If you're getting an Uber, you could probably call yourself a lord. You could probably even call yourself a lord if you flew on a plane. You couldn't do it on your passport though. Probably not a credit card either, I'm not quite sure. I'm guaranteeing you that mass-produced certificate from established titles and companies like them isn't enough to persuade your government to say, hey, maybe they are a lord. But he is right in saying to become a Scottish lord or lady, an actual real one, you have to be given it by a royal decree. And just because you own land in Scotland, it doesn't make you one. Otherwise, fucking how many people in Scotland would be lords and ladies? Like 60% of the adult population would be lords and ladies because they own property. Then Scott brings up one interesting thing about the trees that established titles claim that they planted. He says they never actually planted the trees, which is true. They had a company that did it for them. Now, I spoke to Katarina Yip and she said they have the receipts about how many trees were actually planted. And in all honesty, I look at this like every other company that does something for charity. They don't actually care. No offense, established titles. I'm sure Katarina cares a little bit, but they're doing it for marketing purposes, in my opinion, like every other company that does that shit. It's like McDonald's in Australia with Ronald McDonald House. Have you ever noticed that at McDonald's, like every single item on the menu ends in like $10.70 or $5.30, or you have that change. Oh, well, let's donate it, right? That's how it sort of started out. Now, obviously, with everyone using Apple Pay and cards and stuff, it's a bit different, but that's how they funded it for a long period of time. They made their company look like amazing people by doing charity work. That's why companies do charity work, and because it's a tax deduction. They don't do it because they care, all right? I do. I care. Go and donate to the Eskimos, you fucking hot bits of gear. So Scott said this in his pinned comment to clarify something that people are confused by. Many creators have been given a faulty script by established titles that causes them to falsely state that established title plants a tree with every order. This is not true. Established titles plants no trees and instead donates only a tiny amount, $1 to charity, to plant trees. Established titles is in no way a charity, despite what people have been claiming. They're a business about profit. And yeah, that makes complete sense. And I don't think that, surely Scott, like, I don't know, I don't think people actually thought that they were a charity. I think they knew that that was not happening. Like, this is all just marketing, right? And on Katarina, Scott goes on to talk about her later in the video, and that she's not actually based in Scotland, she's based in Hong Kong. And at this part of the video, some people actually claimed that Scott was being racist. Like, which is fucking insane, like insane. I've spoken to Scott, right, on the emails and all that type of stuff, and in this interview, he is not a racist person. This has nothing to do with race. That is a ridiculous claim. So since Scott's video came out and had millions and millions of views, Established Titles has changed their website to make it more clear that this is a fun gift and you don't actually get land to build your house on, you fucking dense fucks. But for some reason, and Scott found this out, they're still running ads like this.
When you buy land in Scotland, you are legally referred to as a lord or lady. So this, I bought a square foot of land where they're going to plant a tree. So you are legally referred to as a lord of land.
So Established Titles, to me, never said that you would legally own that land, but apparently in these Facebook ads that are put out by the company or another marketing firm, they're sort of suggesting things like that. So that's very interesting to see that that's still happening even after this whole thing has started. And in the fine print, of course, it says this is not happening at all, but we're seeing it. So is this false advertising? I guess it is. I think it's somewhat like an NFT, right? It's like, you know, you don't actually get anything. You just think you got a big dick because you're a lord or a lady or you own a fucking expensive monkey. Now, before we go on and ask these two parties involved, both Established Titles and Scott Schaefer, I want to ask you this, because a lot of people were really mad at creators who happen to be spruiking this product and accepting money from something that, because they watched Scott's video, they now decide is a scam and they now pretend to be outraged. And I think some people were genuinely outraged, but a very small minority. I think most people were just jumping on the bandwagon. So I've got to ask you this. How many companies do you think aren't overly ethical? Because you could argue that because you think that Established Titles is a scam, they're unethical. But how many other companies do you give money to that are unethical? What about the ones that use sweatshops? What about the ones that are underpaying workers? What about the ones that move their entire factory to another country just to save money, and all of those people who now have lost their jobs are now living in poverty? Are you happy to spend your money there? Do you have the same amount of outrage to people spruiking them? Because there's companies, big companies out there that are sponsoring sporting athletes. I don't know if you're going after them. What about those companies that are sponsoring charity events but pulling down rainforests? Like, are you angry at them? Are you sending them DMs? Or are you sending the creators or the sporting athletes that are involved with them? Are you sending them angry DMs like the one that I got. So maybe have a good, hard look at yourself there. Anyway, we invited Scott Schaefer, we invited Katarina Yip. They both said, absolutely, let's do it. And we asked them the following 5 questions. But the day of the interview, Katarina decided to pull out. She said, I can't do this. It's very stressful. And she wanted to sort of just lay low for a bit. And I get that. When I spoke to her over Zoom, she was quite emotionally distraught and quite tired, it seemed like. It looked like she had had a very, very tough time of this. So I understand that people are mad at her and stuff like that. I do wish Katarina all the very best because I know what it's like. She's basically gotten cancelled from this. I know what it's like to be cancelled. It's very, very tough. Things will blow over, and I hope that people are very aware if Established Titles ever comes back. They're very aware of what they're buying, and I wish her all the very best of luck in life because at the end of the day, she's a human being, and copying all this shit on the internet, especially when you're not used to it, can be very taxing on your mental health. But let's go and talk to Scott. He is the guy who made the video with, I think it's like 3 million views now. It's gone super viral. Let's go and ask him 5 important questions that I think can really open up this entire topic.
So how many people do you think would, out of the people you've heard from, and obviously there was a lot of comments on your video, how many people do you think actually felt like they had bought land and they had been, like, you know, be rough with numbers, obviously, they felt like they had been hard done by or lied to or scammed in this situation?
I don't know. It'd just be a guess. If I had to guess, I'd say probably like half of people.
Really? Okay. And it's funny you say about the hard done by people. I had people reach out and like absolutely extremely angry with me and saying, how dare you put this ad on? You need to donate to a Scottish charity. The 100,000
people from Scotland were saying that.
Yeah, like they were actually, and you know what? As an Australian and a proud Australian, as I'm sure you're a proud person in your country, of your country and your people and all that, and your family, yada yada yada. As I am, and as Scottish people are, maybe you would take that as a like, fuck you. What are you doing this for? Like, leave us. I would be like that if there was people selling, like, you know, shrimp on the barbie, plots of shrimp. You'd be a little bit shitty. You'd be like, stop. You know, I'm not going to use the word appropriating culture, but you are. You're profiting off people's of stereotypes, perhaps. Maybe that's a fair way to put it.
I understand that, and I'm sure you and pretty much everyone who advertised it didn't realize that. I'm not accusing anyone of trying to like make fun of someone's tradition, someone's nationality, or anything. I think that's just how it came across to people who are in Scotland or from Scotland descent.
I was pretty taken back by people saying that. Well, I don't know if it was people. I think you said it was only one person suggesting that you were being, or your attack on Katarina, I believe that's her name, was racially motivated. And I went through your video, and there's nothing. Like, you mentioned that she's in Hong Kong. Okay, so what? There's nothing wrong with that. Did you cop a bit of hate because of that, or was it just from one person?
It was just from that one channel. As soon as they posted that video, I received, I don't know, maybe 20 or 30 people left comments calling me a racist. But aside from that, I didn't really have any issues. It was just that one video.
I think it was a pretty obvious gag gift. But what do you think Established Titles could have done in the beginning to make it more obvious? Do you think it's more so like the Facebook ads that got people, or is it the creators using words that maybe perhaps weren't accurate?
Yeah, well, she did an interview with another creator, Paige Christie, and she mentioned in that interview, Paige Christie brought up that the ad reads that they give to creators is pretty confusing, and she agreed with that. So they know that they have to make changes as to what they're telling creators to say. They also, like I mentioned in the second video I did, on their own Facebook ads, they're telling people you legally become a lord and lady, which they can't say. I know probably the ad read they gave you, they say not to say legally, right? So they know they're not supposed to be saying that, yet they do it anyway. I know there was another company, Highland Titles, who actually was sued a number of years ago for misrepresenting what they were actually selling. And so they had to make a bunch of changes to their website. So they actually, what Highland Titles did is probably what Established Titles is going to have to do if they want to continue on.
Have you seen any proof that they plant the trees they say they plant?
Well, I mean, I've established, and Katerina agreed in the interview she did, they don't plant any trees. They just donate money to charity.
Yes.
But yeah, they do pay money to the charity.
Yeah, but you feel that for what they claim that they're saving the Highlands of Scotland, what they're actually giving isn't quite doing what they say they are doing.
It's insignificant. What they're doing is trying to hide behind the fact that, oh, we donate to charity, when in reality it's just a purely capitalist business that's designed to, in my opinion, scam people into believing they're buying land. They get a bunch of money, they donate a tiny percentage of that to charity, and then they can tell everyone, we donate to charity.
Can you see established titles coming back from this?
Sure. I mean, I've seen weirder things happen. Why not?
Okay, what about if you were to take over tomorrow from established titles, how would you bring it back from the brink? What would you do, Scott?
I would not do that ever. I would never want to be associated with that company.
What if they offered you 10 square feet of land to take over?
Not a chance. I would never want to work with that company.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. The full unedited version of that interview can be found on my Patreon for $1 a month, or see that join button down below. You can click that, and for $1 a month, you can also be a part of the YouTube membership thingo. Yeah, you can be a member to the channel, and it's the exact same as Patreon. Some people don't like using Patreon, fair enough, whatever. You can do it there, and you get the same things. How good? Ladies and gentlemen, be a good motherfucker. Peace in the Middle East. It extinct. Toodaloo, au revoir. Bye-bye.